Single dad offered his jacket to a shivering woman, not knowing she was a bride hiding her past. It was one of those bitterly cold evenings in Chicago, when the wind slices through layers and people rush past each other without eye contact, shoulders hunched against the chill. Daniel Morris, a 36-year-old single father, had just finished his late shift at the mechanic shop. With oil-stained hands and weariness weighing on his shoulders, he walked with a paper bag of dinner for his 7-year-old daughter, Lily. The snow crunched beneath his worn-out boots, and his mind was occupied with thoughts of rent, groceries, and how to keep Lily warm that winter. Then he saw her. She sat alone on a park bench just outside the frozen fountain at Grant Park. She was shivering, her white dress glowing faintly under the street lamp. It wasn't a party dress. It was a wedding gown. Her mascara had run down her cheeks, and her arms were wrapped tightly around herself as if trying to disappear into the fabric of her misery. Daniel stopped. Something tugged at him, a blend of worry, kindness, and a faint whisper of recognition from his own past, when he too had felt abandoned by love. "Miss. Are you okay?" he asked softly. The woman flinched at his voice, then slowly turned to face him. Her eyes were red and glassy. She didn't respond immediately, as though the simple act of someone noticing her had cracked a dam she was barely holding together. I don't know," she whispered, trembling. "I don't know where to go." Without hesitation, Daniel shrugged off his thick jacket and gently draped it over her shoulders. "It's freezing out here. You shouldn't be alone in that dress." She clutched the jacket like a lifeline. "Thank you. I didn't think anyone would stop." "I couldn't not stop," he replied, crouching beside her. "I'm Daniel." "Emily," she whispered. He could see she was much younger than him, maybe in her late 20s, but her face held an exhaustion that went beyond the cold. He hesitated for a moment, then said, "I'm not trying to pry, but, do you want to talk about what happened?" She looked down at the snow. "I was supposed to get married today, but I ran. Everyone was there. My parents, friends, even a string quartet. And I just walked out the back door. I've never done anything like that before. I didn't even bring my coat." Daniel didn't ask why she ran. She looked fragile, like any sudden word might cause her to shatter. "Come with me," he said gently. "I've got a little apartment not far from here. My daughter's waiting for dinner. You can warm up, rest a bit." Emily hesitated. "I don't want to intrude." "You won't. And Lily will be thrilled to see someone new. She loves princesses, and to her, you'll look like one." That made Emily crack a faint smile, the first sign of life returning to her face. She nodded silently, and they walked side by side through the snow, an unlikely pair brought together by the cold and a kindness neither of them had expected. Daniel's apartment was small but warm, cluttered with crayons, books, and the unmistakable scent of home-cooked meals. Lily ran to the door the moment Daniel walked in and stopped in awe when she saw Emily behind him. "Daddy! Who's she? Is she a real princess?" Lily gasped. Emily knelt down with a tired smile. "Something like that, sweetheart. She's staying for dinner," Daniel said. "Let's all eat together." That evening, as they sat on mismatched chairs around a modest table with reheated spaghetti, something unspoken bloomed in the room. Emily laughed for the first time in what felt like years, Lily told her stories about school and cartoons, and Daniel watched with a quiet, contented heart. The stranger in a wedding dress wasn't just warming up from the cold, she was thawing from the weight of her own heartbreak. After Lily fell asleep on the couch, Daniel handed Emily a blanket. "You can take the bed," he said. She looked at him, eyes full of gratitude. "Why are you being so kind to me?" Daniel hesitated. "Because someone once helped me when I had nothing. When my wife left and I didn't know how to raise a baby alone, a stranger gave me a room, a job, and a reason to believe in people again. I promised I'd pay it forward." Emily swallowed hard. Her voice broke. I didn't just run from the wedding. I ran from a man who looked perfect on paper but made me feel small every day. I kept telling myself it would get better. But today I realized, I was marrying fear, not love. Daniel sat beside her on the floor. You were brave to walk away. That takes more strength than staying. They talked until the early hours of morning, about past hurts, second chances, and the quiet courage it takes to start over. Over the next few weeks, Emily stayed in the spare room while she looked for work. She helped around the house, braided Lily's hair before school, and laughed more freely each day. Daniel tried to keep his distance, not wanting to cross boundaries, but he couldn't help noticing how Emily brought warmth into their lives like spring sunlight after a long winter. One day, Emily returned from a job interview beaming. I got the position. Assistant at the local library. Daniel smiled. That's amazing. They're lucky to have you. As the days passed, their connection deepened, not in dramatic declarations, but in morning coffees, shared dinners, and quiet glances across the room. Then came the night when Emily found Daniel outside on the fire escape, staring at the stars. You okay? She asked. He looked at her and said, yeah. Just thinking how strange life is. A few weeks ago, I was worried about getting through the winter. Now, somehow, it feels like I've already made it through. Emily sat beside him. You saved me that night. You saved me too. There was silence, then Emily reached for his hand. He didn't let go. A year later, in the same park where they first met, Daniel stood waiting in a suit. Lily clutched a small bouquet, beaming with excitement. Snowflakes drifted lazily from the sky, just like that night, but this time, there was no loneliness. No fear. Emily walked toward them, not in a wedding dress of obligation, but in one she had chosen, simple, elegant, free. As she reached Daniel, Lily whispered, she really is a princess. Daniel smiled. She's more than that. She's the bravest person I know. They exchanged vows under the winter sky, surrounded by close friends, warmth, and a shared understanding of how love often arrives not when expected, but when it's most needed, and so, what began with a jacket shared between strangers became a story of healing, second chances, and love born not from perfection, but from kindness. Because sometimes, when we stop for someone in the cold, we end up warming our own hearts too.